Race Remix.
Hi, welcome to Race Remix. I'm Samoria Mosley, a graduate student in the College of Fine Arts at the University of Arizona, studying photography, video, and imaging. For this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Michael Mwenso, band leader, co-founder of Electric Root, Emmy Award-winning creator, curator, and creative artist. I am so glad to share that conversation with our listeners today. Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
That's great. I had the pleasure of going to one of your Ancestral listening sessions, and I want to first talk about my first impression of you. When I first met you, I feel like you've already cultivated a space for spirits, and when I first met you, you were very unassuming to me, very confident, very unwavering, and I think that's the only way you can create a space like that. And so, would you mind telling us what an ancestral listening session is?
Well, thank you so much for being with me today and allowing me into your space, and for the kind words that you just expounded on. I'm truly grateful to be here with you. And it really came out of the time when George Floyd was really changing the world in a sense of revelation, and me and my co-creative brother, friend, we started a company called Electric Root, and it allowed us to start creating a new way to listen to music with people, and we were doing it on Zooms, really, and it's really came out of a lot of years prior, when I was even in London too. I would try and always create space for people to listen to music together after the show. We go to someone's house, and we do that in London. Then when I got to New York, we started doing that more. It just became a thing we did, and it really helped us. A lot of the musicians in New York, the community that I was very blessed to be around and participate in, it really developed us to hear music differently and to actually really respect these people that built the music. So, that's the ancestral part, to really respect and love these ancestors. And then, you build community around listening to the ancestors, and we listen. So it really came out of a very social kind of vibe. And then we started doing it on Zoom some years after. And when all of this time was changing, we were doing it at universities, we were doing it with people. And then now we're doing it with everybody. It was for musicians, then it was and now it's for everybody. But it's really just really doing like investigative work on ourselves through using the music.
Yeah. It sounds like you're challenging the disposability of legacy, like legacy within music, legacy within storytelling. And it's very interesting that you say that came about after George Floyd, because in my life, before I was pursuing contemporary art as my main practice, I was a journalist, and I was living in San Diego, and I had been freelancing for a while. I went to a historically Black college, so I knew that I wanted to tell stories differently. That's just something that moved me, and I struggled. I struggled to get opportunities. I struggled for people to see the validity in what I had to say, and it wasn't until George Floyd was murdered that I got one of the biggest opportunities. And I ended up on the front page of the San Diego Union Tribune, and that was really big for me. And that just cultivated a different community inside of me. And it's very different because I had already had a very interesting relationship with police brutality. When Trayvon Martin was murdered, we were the same age. And that was the first time that I knew about racism, I understood it, but that was the first time that I seen it materialize. So it's in such a new way, and it was so modern. And to go back to the music, after that, it just seemed like I could hear so much more in what we had to say. And the music really took me there. And I think it's interesting that you're using that as a vehicle. So I do want to ask you, do you have a personal spiritual practice that led you to segue that into the spirituality embedded in music.
Very deep. Yeah, I do. I think for me now, in the last few years, it's really been researching, I say studying more African spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised in very Christian upbringing with my mother, my aunts, my uncles, very, very Christian. I've been going to Christian schools in England, Roman Catholic schools, Church of England schools. So it was all of that. But in the last few years, I've definitely tried to understand more about spirituality that comes from Black people, particularly Nigerian spirituality. And that has been very helpful to also use a babalawo, which is what you call it in Ifa, as a therapist, as a guider, I go and see him a few months, and it's just helpful just to like talk to him. He's not a magician. It's not magic. You have to keep your spirit in alignment, and sometimes we don't. I struggle. But it's nice to have just him to go to and talk to about things, and so that's been very helpful. Like knowing more about Ifa, and the Orishas, and the power of color. He told me, yeah. So
It's very moving when you think about Black people's migration in general and how there has been this huge surge, it seems like. And I know people have always been doing it, but it just feels like a huge collective surge of wanting to undo that Christian indoctrination. And I grew up Christian.
yeah,
Like, I grew up going to church. Feeling the music, though. The music, it was just next level. Like, that's the thing that brought you back. Like, it was just different. But yeah, undoing that indoctrination, and using music to do that. Personally, my grandfather, he's a root worker. And growing up, everybody would say, like, that's bad. Like, you don't go to a root worker. Like, why would you do that? And if people are unfamiliar, root work resides in hoodoo, which is an enslaved mystic practice that was used to combat the circumstances of the time. And it's something that was a culmination of different African spiritualities because we've been grouped on this plantation now. And while undoing that indoctrination, I have to keep saying that because it's really big. It's really big to take that step forward and move past what you've been taught. That's what I think of John the Conqueror as. John the Conqueror always comes and he saves, and I call on that. And so it's interesting to think about ancestor veneration and how that's never been lost on us, even within Christianity. Because I will say, Black people rep the dead in a different way, and it's very in the everyday culture. Like, if somebody died a year ago, you could be going to Publix and they got the RIP shirt on, or you're in your house and you see so many people on the wall that you've never seen before. But your granny is like, no, that's your aunt Maybelline. Like, even if you don't know that. So the way you venerate ancestors in your ancestral listening sessions, when is the first time you learned that ancestors were important to you?
Is every question going to be this deep?
Absolutely.
Maybe because I dealt with death early in my life. My stepfather died. I saw death. So, we went to the mortuary with my mom. I remember seeing him, and maybe that's a way, but now as I grow older, a lot of people, everyone I knew as a child almost is dead. And I think about it every day. Even my father's dead, the guy who raised me is dead, my stepfather's dead, my closest auntie, she's dead, James Brown's dead, they're all dead. And it's not, but it's joyful.
It is
Why
joyful.
is it joyful? Because I still pray to them. So they're not dead. Exactly what you're saying. Sadly, Christianity did do that. It made us see death as we're the Black. in African tradition, someone's dead, it's happy time. We're going to do the funeral for the whole week, change their clothes every day, and it's party.
That's right, because it's a home going, because it's life after that.
They're still living.
They still living.
So I pray to James Brown. I pray to my father. I pray to Tom, who raised me. And they come to me in dreams, too. I see the dead very deep in dreams. James Brown came to me 2 weeks ago. He was wearing all red. I write him down. Ray Charles has come to me. The guy who raised me comes to me every week. So maybe because of that too, because I really know that they're alive. Like when they come to you in your dreams, it's just like, bloody hell, these people are alive.
Mm-hmm. That was the one of the things I was going to ask you. Do you dream a lot? Because
incredibly,
I was trying to process my dreams because they've always been just this extra layer of communication.
Yes, it is.
And I asked my root work granddad. I asked him. I said, "Grandpa Pop, that's his name, Grandpa Pop." I said, "Pop, why do I dream so much?" And he said, "Because you got a gift and you need to work it."
Yes.
And I'm saying, "Okay, well, what does that mean?" And he says, "If you are given a gift and you don't work it, it's a disservice to yourself and it's a disservice to your life. It's a disservice to the world." So he tells me this story. He says there are 3 men sitting on the corner. A man comes and gives each of them a gift. The first man gets 1 penny. Second man gets 2 pennies. The third man gets 3 pennies. The man who gave them the pennies, he leaves. He comes back like a week later. He asks them all, what did they do with it? The first man spent it. The second man lost it. The third man buried his. Where he buried it, a tree grew. And the man said, he worked his. You didn't work yours. You gave it away. And because you gave it away, you have nothing. And so I think about that. I think about how you're working your gift. And when did you realize that was your gift?
Which what? What particular? Like which part of the thing?
We're talking about dreams. So when did you realize dreaming was your gift?
Oh, okay, that's a deep one. Well, my mother was deported when I was a kid, but a year or 8 months before she was deported, we were living together, and I would have this continuous dream of my mother leaving me on the train track. And it happened for months. No saddest you will ever have. And then 8 months later, my mom was deported. So I realized, they were trying to prepare me that my mom wasn't going to be around. So that's when I really started this dream thing. Okay, so it's kind of like, so I realized, okay, so dreams are warnings. Dreams are revelations. Dreams are manifestations, So, and I realized that very young because it's like my ancestors were preparing me to lose my mother. Because when I'd wake up from that dream, oh my God, I'd be so sad. I'd go to my mom and cry. Why you left me? But then she did. She didn't. They took her. But you know what I'm saying? So I realized, from a young age, I said this dream. And it's gotten deep. It's not just dead people that visit me. It's just like Jesus.
Same. All the time. All the time. And I wake up like, well, it was nice to see you last night. Yeah. But they always have a lot to say.
They do.
They have a lot to say. When you started dreaming like that, did you simultaneously also connect with the music at the same time? Or were they one before the other?
Dreams a little bit first and then music after.
Did that help you understand music?
Wow. I've never really gone there, actually. I have to, maybe, I think everything's connected.
Everything is connected. I asked that because dreams become like prophecy. They become like prophecy, and they let you know that there is more. Like once you begin to dream, you can't really deny what you know. You may try and suppress it, but you know it. And once you know what you know, you can't undo what you know. And so you can only build upon that. So when I think about music as such a spiritual thing, I mean, they say, "Hark the herald angels sing." This is I think people who make music have one of the highest gifts to have because it penetrates so deep. It penetrates so deep, and it's a timeline. I think music is a timeline. I think music is a portal, and it's something that just has sustained when everything else has not. And for that to just drop into your world right after you start dreaming, that doesn't seem like a coincidence to me, at least.
Um, I write them down. Right as soon as I have them. As soon as you have to practice dreaming too. So I always tell people, write them down. Like, because once you start making your brain write them down, then your brain starts to remember them more when you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do nothing. Like, don't even go toilet because it will get.
It's
But
gone.
as soon as you write it in your phone, and I have hundreds of pages. James Brown came in red, and then we went here. Aretha Franklin touched me a little bit interestingly. Yes, and it's just like woo. Mm-hmm. But no, write them down because they are prophecies. Yeah.
Did you get the idea for, because I know this, what you're doing is a co-collaboration. It's not just you, but did you get any inclination that's something of this sort, or did you ever visualize something of this sort for your life? The way you present your voice and the way you present your contribution to the world, did you ever imagine it existing in this sort of space, or did you?
No, I didn't actually. I definitely music, and I knew I'd be doing that, but I didn't think music would take me to this.
What did you think?
I don't know. I'll just be shaking and breaking and singing on stage and boop boop, and that's the life. I didn't think it'd be like, oh, actually, music's gonna take you to here. And that I would share my life in this way too. I didn't think. I just saw that as all just past and trauma and like sad times. Even though there was a lot of beautiful times as a child, but there was a lot of. But now just to be able to share it with people in a way of a testimony. So that's been very, very helpful.
Yeah.
So that I'm open.
Yeah, you've inspired me. You've inspired me in a way of, when I think about music, especially where I'm from, like, everybody loves music. Everybody wants to do music. Everybody wants to make a way for themselves with something that they're very passionate about. And where I'm from is not that many avenues. It's kind of hard to think creatively outside of the box about where you want to go with things, because people focus a lot on stability, and they're not wrong for that, because historically how life has been, you do need to focus on stability. But often parents and mentors, in the name of protection, can downsize your dreams. How much support did you have as a child, like in your early 20s? Because I feel like until you're like 26, you're still like a teenager. I don't know.
That's interesting.
I feel like you're still kind of like a teenager.
Interesting.
But what kind of support did you have in figuring the language of yourself out?
I was lucky. I had a lot of support. I had this amazing man that came into my life when my mother was deported, and you couldn't get no more supportive than that. He was so free, and so enabled me to dream. My mother was incredibly supportive. She was the one taking me to see James Brown too, and trying to get me on stage of him, and pushing through the backstage. She was that. So I had lots of mentors, great musicians. James Brown was supportive. Like, James Brown let me on stage as a kid. Like, you can't get no. Like,
what? Will you tell us the story, please? I really want to know. James Brown from South Carolina, so
yes, Barnwell.
Yes, and I'm from South Carolina, and they love that. That's their claim to fame. They like, James Brown from here.
It was funny because because then Augusta, Georgia claimed him too.
And they can't have him. We ain't got that many people in South Carolina now.
That's true. He calls himself a Georgia liner. That's what James Brown calls himself.
I like that.
Georgia, and everybody else.
I like that, James. Keep that Carolina. But please tell us.
Oh, I went crazy about 10, 11. I discovered James Brown and just went crazy, buy every video that was at HMV, get every tape. It was tapes then. And then I got to meet him, I got to meet him like a year after I kind of discovered him. I got to meet him. He came to London. And from that moment on, I just kept on stalking him a little bit, like first year, met him nice. Second year, met him nice. Third year, really tried to get him. And my mother, she was the one who really enabled that kind of energy to happen in sense of the first time meeting him. And then the third year, we got him, and it was amazing, James Brown is notorious for doing sound check horror rehearsals. Well, I'll explain it to you.
Okay.
Like all throughout his career, basically from like 1955 to like 2002, he would rehearse the band for 4 hours before the gig. Songs they already know, same song 50 times. He stopped around 70 something, because he realized I don't need to like strain myself to this rubbish anymore. But for about 50 years, he did that, so sometimes the band's rehearsing right up to the gig, but I got him in the sound check, and he was in a good mood because James Brown's moody. And he recognized me, and I said to him, I referred to a song from a long time ago that I knew would get him. He was playing the organ. I said, I bet you can't do Devil's Den. Devil's Den. This is like a tune from 1964. How you know what Devil's Den is? You know what I mean? And then I played a little organ too. He let me play when he left me up there. And then he's rehearsing the band. Then he points at me to play the organ. I do this solo. He stops the band after the solo. What's your name again? I said, Michael Mwenso. What's he saying? I come down, and then he says, hey, you sound good, son. You sound good. I can do the splits too. Pooh! I know
that's right. Bust it right there.
I can sing and dance too. He said, what do you want to sing? Give it up, turn it loose. Go on, man. One, turn. I'm singing. I'm doing the splits. I'm doing the camel walk. I'm doing the robot. I'm doing the boogaloo. I'm doing the James Brown. He stops the song midway. Says, you got a suit? I said, yes, sir. You coming on stage tonight? Thank God we packed the gray suit, the oversized gray suit I had. If you see the video, it's like, what's happening? But and that was the start of my relationship with him. I knew him for the last 10 years of his life, till he died 2006. So he didn't have to do that. He did that for at least a good 45 years after that. He wouldn't always be embracing. Sometimes he's in a bad mood. He says, but he did that for me. He did that for me. He's deep.
Yeah.
Complicated man, but deep spirit.
Yeah. I could imagine that. I'm not even you, and I feel like I was just on stage with James Brown. I love it.
That means he's around. That's deep.
Wow. What's the first James Brown record you ever heard, and who played it for you? Well,
I was close with the headmaster's children at a school I was going to. And they took me to Asda, or one of those shopping places, and they had tapes there, and it was a choice between, I don't know, I love Shirley Bassey too. There's a choice between Shirley Bassey tape and a James Brown tape, and James Brown was enriched in my memory because he was the person my mother and my aunt in Nigeria would dance to when they were kids. So whenever they would connect, my auntie Cleo, may she rest in peace, and my mother, they would bring up James Brown. So James Brown was always there because whenever my mom wanted to dance, remember how we used to dance when we were kids to James Brown, and then when I see my mom and auntie really bonding, so let me get this James Brown guy. And then, Jesus Christ, it just went crazy after that.
Wow. It's like a backwards thing. For a lot of people, for a lot of Black Americans, I can't speak for everybody that's Black and American, but for a lot of Black Americans, though, there's a struggle. There's a struggle with trying to connect with others in the African diaspora, with Africa. I mean, of course, there's a root.
You going. Okay.
Okay, but music has been that segue that makes it a lot easier. And to hear your parents dancing to James Brown,
oh yeah,
makes me think of the first time I heard Fela Kuti.
Hey,
I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I lost my mind. I was like, you mean to tell me they shaking and gyrating and jiving like that there? And it was also so political. And that did exist here, but you had to say it a different way. And the way that he said it was just so intense that it really shook me up. Um,
Well, Fela Kuti is interesting because he talk about like how we're disconnected and reconnected and diasporically. He's a Nigerian boy that goes to England to Guildhall to study jazz music, and then after leaving Guildhall and realizing he doesn't want to be a jazz musician, finds James Brown music, and then goes to Nigeria, then creates. So he was influenced by the African American music in England, jazz, and then James. So it's very, you talk about backward and all that stuff. That's the thing. James Brown and also Louis Armstrong are the only really two Afro American kings that they were superstars in Africa too.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know Louis Armstrong as well.
Yeah, not everyone crossed over like that. But James Brown and Louis Armstrong, they're similar. Like they got to Africa.
So, what were your beginning influences in music, or maybe like what was the beginning genre that just opened the world up for you?
Well, I was blessed to live with this man who had this amazing vinyl collection that had every. I mean, he loved Mariah McKenna. He loved just blackness. You know, like he had African music. He was the first one to acknowledge me. I'm African. He had African artists. I didn't even know this white man. You know, so.
And this man, we're talking about Mr. Tom.
Mr. Tom Blowfield.
Mr. Tom, okay.
Thomas Jonathan Blowfield. Yeah, and he had everybody. Blues, jazz, funk, gospel, Mahalia Jackson. It's just like, you know, so I was very lucky. That phoneticness of his way of loving black music came to me. Because then I loved all the music he loved. And also he loved musicals. And, he's the one who made me understand country music too in a whole nother shake. But his ability to love music in a deep way helped and taught me. Because, and then we would see music like that. One week, B.B. King. Next week, Hugh Masekela. Next week, something, go see a musical. You know, like, it was just like that. You know, it was broad.
So, are your influences from Tom what you primarily play in your ancestral listening sessions, or is it?
Exactly. All that music I play is from being around that man. Because he played that music. Big old Bessie Smith collection. Big old Mahalia Jackson. I do it as a love letter to him too, the ancestral community listening, because he is my ancestor that helped me to listen.
I love that. I love that. The fact that you focus on black music in the ancestral sessions.
And black women. Sometimes we just focus on the black women.
And black women. And that's the session that I had. Okay. I appreciated that day. Yeah. You making space for black women because I hear them differently. Even with my mom, like before there were such growing pains because of generational divides, wanting to pursue just a different life than what she had lived. Like there was a hard coming to terms with that, understanding that it was just, we weren't getting there. And it wasn't until, again, I started coming into my womanhood that I understood, wow, she was a black woman before, like she has experiences as a black woman before being a mother. You are not simply a mother, like you have just a way that you view the world based off your experience that I'm not going to be able to tap into. We could talk about it, but I'm still not going to really understand that. And that just made me see her as a person. And when you play those songs by women who you're educating me, who have, broke the stratosphere in ways that I benefit from, we all benefit from, but I had no idea. I think about that a lot. And sometimes I cry about that. Like how we won't always be known for the amount of work that we do and the amount of work that, like, I rest on the laurels of people who will never get to meet me, who couldn't even have the space to think about me at the time that they are doing what they're doing. But yet, I'm living my life because of it. And so that just made me feel so good to learn more of those women because of you, for you to voluntarily pick that role and play it well. Everything is a choice, and that was a choice. And I appreciate you for making that. I really do.
Thank
Mm-hmm. So, what'd you eat today?
I'm thinking about it, because we're gonna go back to the hotel, and I got some Indian food that I really want to. I didn't get to eat as much as I wanted to, so I'm gonna get into some Indian food after we leave here. That's gonna be nice. Mm-hmm. Then we have a wonderful thing we're going to do after that. Have a visit with some beautiful human beings that have gone through some struggles in life, incarceration, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be interesting to be in that orbit.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any experience with family members, friends being incarcerated?
My mother was incarcerated a few times. I saw her. She was arrested a few times. I remember one time, a few times, the police came to the house and they're searching for things in the house. And I remember they're searching, the police in the living room, everywhere. I'm just the only one there. My mom isn't there. They've arrested her already. But and I put on the James Brown video. And this is when I realized, okay, that was the moment, like how I was young and I put James Brown video. I just started singing and dancing like James Brown while the police are searching the house. It was a way I quacked myself. And I realized, wow, that was intense. Because it was kind of like, I'm not going to see you know what I mean? I just started doing this James Brown, and the police, do you know where this is, Michael? And so that was, yeah. And, picking my mom up from when she'd been arrested, she'd been in jail for like a month, with my aunt. We drove hours. So I've been around that. My mom was in a detention center, which was kind of a mini jail before she got deported. And we visit her every weekend. So I know that, like, energy of visiting someone who's in prison, kind of, and seeing your mom like that. 1 hour, you get to be with her, and then she gets locked up. She's an amazing black woman, so yeah, I've been around that energy.
You have so many chapters to your life. What does that feel like? In hindsight, I'll say, like after having experienced so many things and being here doing this, what does that feel like?
I mean, I can tell you a lot, but it's all it all feels. I wouldn't be this person. I would be some other. I would be boring. I would be. I wouldn't know anything. So all of his chapters is. I'm glad it's maybe this person because I'm really blessed. Yeah,
I read that you and your co-collaborators prioritize
this one here.
Jono,
yeah,
beautiful collaborator,
and Chan, and co-collaborator.
Chad, hello. I read that you all focus on Black joy. Why is that you all's choice?
Well,
I mean, of course, there's an evidence.
No. I'm coming. We didn't realize it was Black joy. We just knew that this music gives us something. Individually, me, and for him too, it gave us hope. And then, then you realize, oh man, this is Black joy. And it's an energy that we have benefited from by listening to it, by seeing it live, by being around many great exhibitors of it, mentors for us. So, how do we first name it? Oh, it's this. It's from Black music, but it's also Black music creates joy. And then we name it, you title it, and then that's what you want to give to the world. So that's why we say Black joy, because it's like, it's naming it too. It's not just woo. It's like, this is Black joy. It's different.
That's refreshing because the more people get educated on Blackness,
yes,
the education peak, it seems like, from my observation, is Black trauma. And it usually resides in how much do we know about what happened to them? And not that much about how much do we know about the Black people that live right next door to us, that are living in the community with us, that are alive and well, that are not physically shackled. I mean, we could have metaphorical conversations of slavery, but that is not what we're saying,
I got you.
But it is refreshing to make that decision. And I remember struggling as an artist when I first made the decision. I remember watching an interview with Toni Morrison. I love Toni Morrison. And an interviewer, a white lady, she asked her,
White Lives? Why you only talk about white?
Why you only talk about white
I know
people?
that
And
one
she
too.
was saying like that is just incredibly.
That's the most racist thing.
And you have no idea.
She says it. It's incredible. That is one of the most racist. You can't believe how racist that question is.
So piercing. Right to the soul.
White woman is like this.
Crickets.
You don't want to write about white lives? Why? I did that. She says I did do that.
Why would I censor that? And when I decided to make the decision to prioritize Black life, I struggled. I was like, oh, what if they're like, oh, you don't want to talk about everybody, or what if like, and it took me a minute to find my confidence in that. And that was like a self-growing thing. So was there ever a time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like me and him have gone through a lot of moments in the last year with, us saying we're doing Black music and naming it. Even a show we have with the word Black in it, and how that has, like people don't, that word, and because we were trying to even get another kind of gig, and we were interviewed for it, and then basically the man was like, "It's too much Black things here," you know what I mean? Like, so we're in it now in a sense of like, wow. Sometimes we go to university, we say, we ask the students, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the word Black? So we can know and help you not be that, because there's a generation there that when they hear Black, they run. So I want to ask these young people, what do you think of when you hear the word Black? What comes into your head? Because this word seems to still be baffling people. So what is it like for you to have Black music-centered spaces, and now you invite everyone? Is it different depending on if the crowd is predominantly all white, or if the crowd is predominantly all... Which would have been if you weren't there yesterday in Jamaica. If they weren't there. Yeah, that was interesting, too. I was peeping that. It was also a certain age of white women, too. I've learned that it seems like the older they are, the more they're a little more interested in that reckoning. In their reckoning. Yeah. He might not agree, but I do think they're definitely more conscious of like, how can we fix what the ancestors did? Absolutely. I don't want to like name it. I don't want to say it, but there is an older generation of white looking women that are like, I know what the ancestor did was not good. And can I just maybe help a little bit, And then there's the same generation of white women that are not that vibe, that are Karen. That are not that vibe. Yeah, so. And we don't got time for them. But everyone is different. There is a conscious white woman that's trying to like help and heal and facilitate ancestral healing with, that's, I think, the biggest problem, I think, with the vibration, the sense of what white people carry is that they don't want to deal with the ancestral part. Yes, it wasn't you that did it, but if you're spiritual, you gotta be real about it. I didn't do that. That was 50 million years ago. Yeah, but you still gotta reckon with it too. You gotta reckon with it. And I've learned, I take a lot of, I'm into cultural preservation, which is also what you do in a very specific way. That's deep. I'm into documenting. I study archival material. A lot of my video art is appropriating archival material for whatever message. But I've learned that a lot of the missing pieces in archives and in museums reside in people's homes. They reside in people's closets. And when we talk about that reckoning and not acknowledging the spiritual part, it's like, but this exists in your home somewhere. Because you can't, like, the world hasn't been decolonized. The world has not been. The world hasn't been decolonized. Like, even myself, like, I still have to work hard to undo a lot of the things that I've been taught. And there's just a certain grace that has to come with that, a certain humility, yeah. And I think your migration story
and your experiences and who you work with and the diversity amongst that makes you all a very special group of people to have this very specific conversation, because you're not talking from just ideas of futurisms. Like, you've lived that experience of this person introducing me to this, that wasn't a part of this, that led me to this, that led me to that. That just speaks very differently and is very present in what you all do. I'm just going to keep telling you that. I appreciate that, because that was really cool.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you would like to say that you haven't said?
Just that you're an amazing person to meet, and I'm truly grateful for being taught by you, by your grace and your innovative mind, and very deep questions, and just thankful that there is someone like you around to speak and expound on the great things that you are and are doing. So we're thankful for you.
Thank you. I know I'll see you again. Every time I meet them, I see somebody again. I see all of y'all again.
And of course you will, even in dreams.
In dreams. I know that's right. You want to come on by?
I will.
Okay, cool. Man, from the journey of becoming to being, Michael Mwenso and I have invited you into a diasporic conversation on how to bring dreams into reality. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did.
Thank you for joining Race Remix today. This episode is made possible through the generous donations of our sponsors and the efforts of our team of students, staff, faculty, and community partners. If you enjoyed this conversation, listen to more episodes at raceremix.arts.arizona.edu.